Well, I wasn't recording audio the whole time for that first take, so that's fun. Let's read it again! Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel, Edit With Me. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I'm so glad you took time out of your day to watch this video. And if you're new, this is a channel about video editing, post-production, and my life as a freelance video editor. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I want to give a shout out to the channel How Do You Know that they're blowing up with just a couple of videos. And they suggested this topic that I'm going to talk about today, and I thought it was really helpful. I thought, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that before? So today I want to talk about how to establish scope of a new project or with a new client. Project scope is a detailed outline of a project and the supporting activities that are required. It also considers the boundaries and limits of the project based on the budget. So let's say your client only wants to pay $150 for the finished project. They're not going to be able to get the 3D logo that was in the reference that they sent to you. So there's lots of different types of videos. There's vlogs, corporate promotional videos, television commercials, documentaries, short films, music videos. There's all kinds of projects that you could be working on. But no matter what type of video that you're working on, they all can have a different scope, a different level of intensity to get the project finished. I hope I'm saying things right. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that just because a video project is low budget means it's going to be low quality. It just means, you know, you might not be able to get super fancy graphics, but you might be able to put more work into the editing quality.
Rule number one.
Rule number one to define scope in a new project: get visual examples from your clients. You might have them say, I don't want my video to look like other videos, I want it to stand out. And you're gonna have to reassure them I'm not going to copy anything, but I want to know what you're expecting visually as far as the level of complication. So keep reassuring them it's to help you understand their visual needs. And I like to tell them this exactly. Have you seen a commercial or video online that you like? Maybe it's just the way the logo flies on screen. If you send that video to me, that's what helps me understand what you need visually. Everything will be customized to your brand and video needs. The motion, on the other hand, needs some visual references. Take some time and even record something you like on your phone and text it to me if that's easier. This helps them know that they can pull from any type of media to give you a reference. Once you have some visual references, this will help you figure out how intense the project is going to be, how much time you're going to spend, and ultimately the cost of the project. And you'll also need to assess if you can even give your client the finished product. Let's say they give you an example of a 3D logo animation. You might have to let them know, hey, you know, I can mimic this motion, but I cannot give you a 3D logo. And they might not fully understand that, and you might have to go into further detail with that. Number two, you need to know what your client is going to be providing you. If they don't know what they're going to be providing you with, step number 4 is going to help you and your client figure that one out. But let's say in this example, this video, I'm going to have recorded footage, separate audio, there's a graphics package that needs to be applied, music, color correction, sound effects, and effects that I'm going to be applying to the footage. B-roll. And in different videos, you might have talking heads for interviews where it might have multiple cameras, one for a close-up, maybe a couple of different angles. Or you may have a client that wants a fully animated video from beginning to end, and that you'll probably only be getting some logos and a voiceover. That brings me to number 3, know your time constraints. So know how much time you have to complete this project. So if you have a fully animated video, you're probably not going to be able to complete it in a couple of days. I mean, maybe you are. That's when you talk to the client, really understand their needs. Maybe they just need text popping up with every word, and that might be achievable in a couple of days. However, if they need motion graphics and icons that visualize each, step of the story being told, that's going to take maybe up to a couple of weeks. But if they have a deadline that's sooner than that, you might have to pass on that project or increase the budget depending on what's feasible. All right, so number 4, once you know your time constraints, know what you're getting from your client, or maybe you don't know what you're getting from your client, but you have some visual examples, you know when your deadline is, let's break down the script. So unless you've also been hired to do a producer role, you should be getting a script from your client. So most of the time, and in my experience, I just get pretty much a written out Word document of the voiceover, and that's what the client will provide me as a script. So what I do with this script is I read it a couple of times, I break it down, and just the first thing that comes to my mind that I would visualize in my head as I read it, I make notes on the script, I write it down, I highlight words that I'm going to use as text, and really kind of just separate like that. If they haven't provided you with a voiceover yet, what's helpful for me is I record a scratch VO. So I would just break out my microphone, read the script as I, would read any kind of voice or, imagine their voiceover being, and I would use that voiceover to assemble maybe a rough edit or just kind of some still visual examples of what I'm thinking for their project. But it helps me as an editor plan my approach to the project. And this is also the safest way that you can creatively explore options with your client, because you won't be putting in a lot of time editing, and in turn that helps define the scope of the project. Maybe they see these ideas that you've come up with and they go, whoa, pump the brakes, that's beyond what we had expected, or that's beyond our budget, or we don't want to do that, and you figure it out. Or maybe it's the other way around. They're like, oh yeah, but we want to add this, we want to add this, want to add that. And that's where you can discuss budget, how much time it's going to take you to achieve those goals for the client, and see if it's worth your time. And typing up an audio-visual script is the best way to sell your idea to the client. Because ultimately that's what you're doing as a video editor or freelancer, you're selling your services. So every new client or project, you want to approach it as you're pitching ideas. And last, number 5, but it's probably the most important part of understanding and defining scope of the project, it's understanding the steps that it takes to create a video. So the order of assembly is like this: script, voiceover, on-camera footage of speakers if applicable, B-roll and stock footage, color correction if needed, audio adjusting or mixing, basic titles, motion graphics, and this includes green screen if you need, adding music and sound effects, and quality control. And each of these steps adds time and adds complexity to the project. And you have to make sure you're budgeting out your time properly, because ultimately that's going to affect the cost of the project. So you have to make sure you're budgeting your time properly and in accordance with the budget of the video. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, is time versus money. Making sure that the time you spend creating for somebody else is compensated. And I always prefer to bill hourly. I think it's the fairest way to conduct business, and that's just my opinion. Because sometimes a video takes less time than estimated and you're not overcharging, and other times if a video takes more time than you expected, you're not underselling yourself. But sometimes the client wants to have a set budget and wants to really know what they're going to be spending, wants to know how much money they're going to be spending at the end of the video. And that's okay, but at that point, you really need to make sure you're establishing strict guidelines for the video, and they know what their limitations are as far as changes go. And that's a really big discussion for another time, so we can get into that in the future. Well, that's all for today on defining scope of a new project. Let me know if this video was helpful in the comment section below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And also let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about. And until next time, happy editing. Bye guys.
I did it!